A civil case in the Netherlands is now drawing global attention, not just for claims of vaccine injury, but for what was argued during the appeal, and how it may trigger a collapse of the deep state matrix. In court filings, plaintiffs allege that COVID-19 vaccines were part of something far more deliberate, claims that are now sparking intense controversy. In this video, we break down exactly what was alleged, what's on record, and what it could mean for the Great Awakening. On September 15, 2025, the appeal was filed against the District Court of Northern Netherlands for a decision made on August 20th of last year. Basically, the appeal says that the trial was unfair because the court refused to hear 5 of their expert witnesses, whose testimonies are alleged to be indisputable. The filed appeal also states that they have very convincing evidence that a planned genocide, known as Project COVID-19, the Great Reset, occurred and continues against people who trust what they are being told, because COVID-19 is indistinguishable from a bioweapon. Let's talk about the Great Reset because you are likely going to see some sort of campaign trying to convince you that it's a humanitarian effort. But know this. The Great Reset was launched by the World Economic Forum in June 2020 by Klaus Schwab. I really shouldn't have to say anything more, but I will elaborate for those who still don't understand. There's actually a book by Schwab and Thierry Malloret titled COVID-19, The Great Reset 2020, which the attorneys are referring to. In the book, Schwab says that recovery should prioritize people and planet over a simple return to pre-COVID norms. Sounds like they care about us so much, doesn't it? Well, it seems that they don't talk about the New World Order much anymore, and the narrative has switched to the Great Reset. It's very important to understand that the Great Reset is very different from the RV or the GCR, which is a currency reevaluation and global currency reset. This distinction is important to understand. The RV is an event within the GCR where certain undervalued or suppressed currencies will suddenly increase dramatically in value against other currencies, like the US dollar. The RV focuses on exotic or war-torn currencies that people have invested in, such as the Iraqi dinar, the Vietnamese dong, or the ZIM, or Zimbabwe notes. So the RV will bring prosperity to many third-world countries by correcting the manipulation and suppression of currencies for countries with assets like gold and oil reserves. The GCR is the Global Currency Reset. This is a worldwide financial overhaul or reset of the global monetary system, not the currency itself. The GCR shifts away from the current fiat or debt-based currencies that are controlled by central banks and corrupt elites to a new system backed by real assets like gold, precious metals, or other tangible value. When and if the Federal Reserve is shut down, we will very rapidly move into the GCR. Perhaps before it collapses, but I don't think the Federal Reserve will allow it. You will note that this week, the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, made an announcement that they were not lowering interest rates. Key elements of the GCR include ending the dominance of the US dollar as the world reserve currency, implementing asset-backed rainbow currencies, or a quantum-secure financial network. There is expected to be a massive wealth redistribution via elite asset seizures and transferring trillions to the people via humanitarian projects. This is also tied to NASARA for the US and the global version known as GSARA, which will include the Jubilee debt forgiveness, elimination of income taxes, and new prosperity funds, such as Trump accounts for all newborns, which is already occurring. So between the RV and the GCR, nobody will be left out of the prosperity ushering in the Golden Age. The appeal was presented under 3 appellate judges named Boss, Manobulu, and Stammer. The original suit involved 7 plaintiffs with COVID-19 vaccine damage, one of whom died as a result of the injections, who civilly sued 17 defendants for their damages, including the State of the Netherlands, Mark Rutte, past Dutch Prime Minister Bill Gates, and Albert Bourla, Pfizer's chairman and CEO. There's the number 17 again, so we must consider the possibility that this lawsuit is a planned disclosure event, and let me tell you why. I'm seeing this particular case being seeded all over the internet as a bombshell game changer, but it won't be this particular case, primarily because it's civil and carries no criminal penalties exactly like the O.J. Simpson case. But there is one difference. O.J. had already been acquitted, so he couldn't be tried again for his wife's murder. The 17 defendants in this case have never been tried criminally for this crime against humanity, and it just may be possible that getting this evidence out there with a legal determination will create an outrage by the left, who are the ones that took the vaccine. Just like the many other moves we've seen, the administration's next move would be a criminal indictment. Perhaps even a world court will bring one, since this particular case is occurring in the Netherlands, and it is being watched by people around the world. The plaintiff's counsel Peter Stassen made the point that the defendants haven't shown up, which is quite disrespectful to the court. It's important to note that his partner, Arno van Kessel, originally filed this case, but was arrested and lost his license to practice law, just like Lynn Wood. Once the dark ones have something that works, you will see it played out over and over again. In his opening statement, Stassen emphasized that at least 20 million deaths worldwide and 2.4 billion side effects have occurred. He said that the European Medicines Agency has consistently confirmed the safety and effectiveness of the COVID-19 injections, explicitly, implicitly, and even subliminally, using brainwashing techniques developed by the former Nazi German Minister of Propaganda, Goebbels. He continued that, "It is now a well-known fact that the official COVID narrative is incorrect, and that all these campaigns saying you're doing it for someone else were based on nothing but deception." Then Stassen tied in the Epstein files, stating that it is now certain a globally organized malevolent elite exists. At the top of this elite are some of the families who own the central banks, families that have seized the worldwide right to create money out of nothing. They're the ones who lend this money to governments at interest and enrich themselves at the expense of taxpayers. Mr. Epstein plays an important role in this network. Stassen said that Epstein is an agent of the bankers and a very important person at the Trilateral Commission, which was established by the Rockefellers. Mr. Epstein is a self-proclaimed transhumanist, someone who has no regard for the creation of man unless they belong to the moneyed aristocracy. On behalf of his superiors, Epstein shapes the transhuman agenda, which is largely driven by the desire to eradicate a large portion of the world's population. Note that Stassen repeatedly refers to Epstein in the present tense, even though this case was filed 4 years after Epstein's alleged death. He continued that this transhuman agenda is a significant part of the Great Reset agenda, of which the respondents are executives. Epstein already advocated on behalf of Gates in 2011 at J.P. Morgan Chase, proposing a financial model to profit from vaccines. Gates is the largest private financier of the WHO through his Gates Foundation. Bill Gates' lawyers filed a motion to dismiss, saying that a Dutch court has no jurisdiction over a U.S. citizen, but his motion was denied. Even though this is a civil case, experts are predicting that if the appeals court hears the experts and puts these plaintiffs on trial, it could lead to another Nuremberg trials era. So April 9th is the date that the court will determine if this case can be reheard with the 5 anti-vax experts. The actual hearing is expected to take place sometime between May and October 2026. That's the civil case. Of course, anything is possible, but if things stick to this timeline, it could be the end of the year before arrests or tribunals begin. So that's where we stand. Things are moving forwards all around us when you know where to look but don't buy the hype. It's taking time, but it had to be this way. I've got lots of links to the full appeal and judgment against Gates' dismissal request, translated to English in the description of this video. I've also put links to supporting videos addressing some of the issues discussed in this video to help you get up to speed, so check the description. I've got two topics I'm working on. One is a new allegation that Democrats are pushing about Trump assaulting a minor, and one about why there have been no arrests yet. I work by intuition, but drop me a comment and let me know which you are more interested in investigating. Till next time, here's a quote from Prince Ea, heir of the Anak Empire. Intervention without awakening is a theft of destiny.